Welcome back to 13C. In this video that's going to be silencer focused, I wanted to talk a little bit about cleaning. So the last video, we had my friend Gunrunner 219 out. We were going over some different things, and the issue of what a silencer is made of and cleaning came up. So he wasn't able to come out and join us this month. He will be back next month, and we will continue on our conversation on that. But in the meantime, I wanted to touch on what we were talking about as far as construction and cleaning. So this is kind of in our ground level silencer introduction stuff. So I don't want to get too, this will be of value pretty much to anybody, theoretically, but I don't want to get too far off into the weeds in certain things, but I want to cover a number of different cleaning methods, construction, stuff like that, just to go through so you have an overview of it as you're getting into the hobby. And you hear people saying you don't need to clean your silencer, you need to clean it all the time, and everywhere in between. So we're going to get into that right now in this one. So should you clean your silencer? Depends on what kind of silencer it is, quite honestly. So if you're talking about a dedicated rifle can, the answer is generally no. Most rifle cans are sealed, are factory sealed, and you don't need to do anything. Obviously, you know, if it gets wet, you need to dry it out, something like that. But as far as for regular use, you don't need to do anything to it. They call them self-cleaning, which is a misnomer, but basically the gases are coming out and they're so hot and they're coming out with such force that they kind of blow any of that extra residual stuff out as you shoot it. You shoot the can, you get a little hot from time to time, you're going to blow out a lot of that carbon just because of the force that's being built up, which is a good thing. On the other side, when you're talking about 22 LR cans, you're getting all kinds of lead buildup inside there, all kinds of crud and gunk. I mean, it's a messy round to begin with. If you're shooting 22s, you know that from cleaning your 22, because even if you don't like to clean guns, you have to clean a 22 from time to time, you know, if it's a semi-automatic, because it's going to get so gunky that it'll gum up the action and it'll start to malfunction. Thus, you have to clean. You have no choice if you want a functioning firearm. So as dirty as it gets inside, it's getting that way in your silencer. So 22 LRs you have to clean. I'm going to show a video here of me earlier out on the deck going to take apart my USS 22, and I do actually wind up getting the baffles out and getting it out. I have the can right here. You can see the baffle stack is out. I'm going to finish cleaning those. I got a wooden dowel, and I wailed on this thing to pound those out because it was so long. I'll wait for that for the other video. But the point is, the other clip to roll in. But the point there is, yes, you do have to clean some of your silencers, or take advantage like Bowers, $20 service. Send your can back to them if you know it's a Bowers can, obviously, or one of their companies. Send it back to them. They'll service it and then send it back to you for $20, which is a steal in my opinion. In any event, for rifle cans, you don't have to worry about. Now there's the interim. Well, pistol cans, a little maintenance here and there can go a long way. Again, if you've got a company like Bowers, you just shoot it, let it go for, you know, and then send it off to them, let them deal with it. But that's outside the purview of what we're kind of going to talk about here, where I want to focus more in on the versions. One of the first ones that you're going to hear about is the dip. Now, the dip creates a toxic slurry when you're done with it that needs to be properly disposed of. Generally speaking, I don't necessarily advocate the dip because of the environmental concerns after the fact and having to properly dispose of what's a hazardous material. You should not dump it down your sink or have it really even in your house. Doing it outside a well-ventilated area would be what you need to do. So we're not getting into the dip. What I would recommend or suggest you check out is a video by our friend Gunrunner 219. I'll link to it down below. Maybe we can have it pop up in the side here, where he goes through step-by-step using CLR. For his. Now, it's still going to create a slurry afterwards, so you know you've got disposal concerns there, but using the CLR, theoretically a smidge safer, maybe. I mean, still at the end you're going to have some lead acetate and whatever else and nasty stuff, but regardless of that, that is a fantastic way to get your baffle stack clean, which leads us into the next part of construction. So you're talking about like stainless steel baffles, for example, would go into a dip or CLR. You would never want to put aluminum in there. And generally speaking, you don't want to get any of these chemicals on the sleeve or the tube either, because there's a number of silencers where the tube will be aluminum, there'll be steel baffles or some other different things. Realize that your tube is the serialized portion of your silencer, and if you screw up your tube beyond repair, you can come up with issues. Why does this matter insofar as, maybe it just ruins the finish? Well, if you're using a dip or a CLR, one of the things you can run into is it will actually eat enough of the finish to make your serial number not after one or two uses, it could be not even legible. Legible, wow. It will be illegible, non-legible. You won't be able to read it, which of course you've then, introduced some possible federal crime involved there of defacing your serial number accidentally. So treat your sleeve with the utmost care. That tube, because that's your serialized part. If you screw that up, you could be in trouble. There's some other things that go into that, right? So theoretically, there are people who will use a dip on theirs or whatever because their silencer sleeve is aluminum, but it's anodized. The anodizing can protect it from the effects, the chemical reaction of the dip. However, if in any way that anodized finish is compromised on your tube, you will then start eating into that aluminum tube that's not protected by the proper anodizing, or whatever has happened to your anodizing from handling marks or scratches, dings, whatever. So again, I don't recommend it. Do with that what you will. The CLR method Gunrunner 219 uses works really well. Again, make sure you're using the right things, take proper safety precautions, and properly disposing of that slurry mixture when you're done with it. Other things to look into, some people will use ultrasonic cleaners for theirs. Ultrasonic cleaners can work using the right liquid in there, can work pretty well. Again, you've got to be careful of your what solution you have in there, what the material you're putting in there, and generally speaking, ultrasonic and aluminum overall is a no-no and probably shouldn't be done. Again, you spent a lot of money on a silencer, you paid a $200 tax stamp. It would be almost better not to maintain it than to risk. Be smart in this, for example. There are other things, for example, if you've got a Cerakoted finish on your silencer. Generally speaking, you do not want to put a Cerakoted finish in a sonic cleaner. Now, there are people who get away with it, and it's fine, but there are issues in contention there with, is it the solution that's in the ultrasonic cleaner doing it, or is it the ultrasonic cleaner itself? In some cases, I think it's definitely a mixture of both. And in other instances, it may be related to the sonic cleaner and how your Cerakote was applied, high temp versus, there's a number of different factors that go into it. So overall, I don't necessarily recommend a sonic cleaner for that, not just because I don't even own a sonic cleaner, but you pick some up at Harbor Freight, at least for baffle stacks, it'd be pretty inexpensive. I think $35 you can get one. But again, is it necessarily worth it for that? So again, if you're putting stainless steel baffles in an ultrasonic cleaner, it's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about it. Aluminum, and obviously Cerakote, something to keep in mind. Tumblers. So some people will use a wet tumbler. So let's say stainless steel media with some water in a tumbler, tumble it. That can do a really good job of cleaning, or a decent enough job at least of cleaning some different stuff. But a lot of what you're going to wind up with is the outsides will be clean, can happen in those. And then the inside of the baffle, for example, the media doesn't necessarily get in there and agitate enough. So you're going to have to get in there and do a lot of that manual labor yourself anyway. And then on the other side of it, any of those stainless steel tumblers, even the wet ones, they are going to, any edges on your thing. So threads, for example, you could worry about actually wearing down some of those threads by putting them in there, because that's what a tumbler does, right? It is what it is. I've heard of some people using, trying to use like a dry tumbler like you would for polishing brass. The mechanics of that are a little different. Trying to get the carbon off is going to be difficult in a dry media tumbler where you're using something like corn cob or something like that. I haven't tried that. I don't know. That's, if you know somebody who's made it work, leave a comment down below. Let me know. And if there's some way to make that work and not damage the thing, that would be cool to take some of the edge off of there. Let's see, we've covered that. Generally speaking, for my purposes, I don't care about getting a silencer so clean that it looks factory new, like it does something like Gunrunner 219's video. I'll keep referencing that. When it comes out of CLR and he wipes it down with the paper towels, it looks as good as it came from the factory. I don't care about that. I really don't. What I'm concerned about is there being able to get, if I need to service the can, if I need to clean it, being able to get in and out of it so that I can get the baffle stacks in and out. That way, that's an issue that I worry about. And then knocking any of the chunky crud off, right? So if it still has a carbon film on it, just like discoloration, I don't care about that coming off or not. It doesn't matter. It's not going to affect the performance of the can. It's not going to hurt the baffles, whether they're aluminum or stainless steel. It's not going to matter. It's going to be fine. What I do care about is, especially in 22 cans, is being able to get in, said it again, 22 cans, 2 cans, 2 cans, 2 cans. It's Friday night. I'm just happy the week's over. So with 22 cans is that you can get enough lead and crud built up in there to actually impede the flow, take up volume, take up space, so reducing the volume that the gases have to expand, and then also interrupting. Most of the baffle stacks have a pattern of the flow, how they're supposed to go through there, and this is especially true, for example, with some other cans that have flow through design, however whichever company goes along with it. When you have the air flowing through the baffle stack in the proper manner, unimpeded, it will suppress significantly better than if you don't. So that's my concern, is removing any gunk, any chunky gunk or anything that's gonna visually be or a real tactile feel to it, right? If it's just discolored, I don't care. I really don't. And again, you'll find people who are on each far end of the spectrum, of clean everything to never clean anything, and I'm probably in that spectrum. I'm probably right about here, something like that. Again, these are your investments. You need to care for them in the way that you want to. Maybe Gunrunner 219 and I will touch on this in our next video again before we move on, because we've got a couple more things to cover here. We may briefly touch up on it and clarify some of this stuff. Because that's a nice thing about having somebody else to bounce off of, because you're hearing each other go back and forth, and it's kind of like a onboard sounding board at the time, versus just one person saying it. Hopefully that kind of points you in the right direction as to what you want. And so go back to the manual cleaning, right? So you get a wire brush, a purpose-made wire brush. You can pick them up from any number of different places. Maybe I'll put a link to a couple down below in the description. It's purposely made for this. That's not going to damage either your aluminum or stainless steel baffles, not going to affect the finish of them. To kind of scrub some of the crap off if you really want, you can use different gun cleaning agents, for example, to kind of loosen some of that carbon up, stuff like that, right? Get in there and wipe it down with a paper towel and stuff. For me, getting in there, and one of the things, an important thing, here we go. I'm glad I thought of it. It came into my mind. Something important when you are when you're putting your silencer and baffle stack together. I like the internals of them, especially for a 22, dry, because the less moisture that's in there, be it from a gun oil or anything else, the less there is for that crap to adhere to and stick to. So if it's dry, it's more likely to blow out the end. If it's wet, it's not as likely. Again, rifle can's not as important because you're sending all those hot gases and everything else through there, and we'll show that in the clip now. This is probably a good point to roll that in there. All right, so what I have here in front of me is the USS 22 from Bowers and the Liberty Constitution from Liberty Suppressors. So I'm selecting these two out of my collection here because I don't remember when the last time I cleaned this was. In fact, I'm trying to remember, other than maybe taking it apart after a few hundred rounds and looking at it. I know I haven't cleaned it in at least a year and a half, probably 2 years. And I don't even remember if I actually cleaned it since then. So I already went ahead before sitting down here and took the wrenches and cracked these loose. This one wasn't too crazy to get apart. The Constitution, I had to put a wrench in the vise and then turn it. And anytime if you're messing with silencers and you have a hard time getting some of them apart or whatever, it's the wrench that you want to put in the vise, not the silencer. Now they sell different types of adapters and other things to you know, allow you to clamp onto a silencer body, but keep in mind that for the most part, most of these silencer bodies are very sensitive. So you don't really want to be touching them and taking them apart and messing around with them, if you can help it. All right, so the question is, how easy is it going to be to get this guy apart? And wow, yeah, I need something that diameter to push this out. Possibly I may just be able to push the edge of this one forward enough, just a little bit there, to push it forward. But man, so one of the reasons why, and you can see all the crap that's falling out of here, one of the reasons why you want to clean your silencers and not let them sit like this is because, all right, we're going to come back to that one. I'm probably going to have to soak that one to get it out. And the nice thing about Bowers is, and not saying you should neglect your silencers, but you can send your Bowers silencers back to them, and it's something like 20-25 bucks. They will completely service and clean your silencer. This is still sticky, for you, for that fee, and then send it back to you, and they'll take a look at it while they've got it as well, make sure your baffles are properly aligned and everything, clean it, send it back to you, all taken care of. Man, I got to clean these threads when we're done. I don't know if you can hear that. So this is a can that I have never cleaned. This thing, as you guys know, has been on a ton of 5.56 rifles we own, and it lives on my 5.56 Galil Ace pistol. That is a, oh man, that is a 8.3, I haven't looked at the inside of this in forever. That is an 8.3 inch barrel, and we really shoot the hell out of that thing. So this, if you look at it, again, never been cleaned, still isn't going to be cleaned. I'm going to wipe down the outside here and the threads before we stick it back in there. But this is going to be the difference between this and this. And I want to point this out because this is crucially important. Normally, most 5.56 cans are going to be sealed. They're not user serviceable, nor do they need to be. These things, you've got high pressure coming through here, and you can tell that this thing is, well, I mean, obviously its surface is dirty. You know, it's not going to be like that. So really, that's why you really don't need to clean these cans unless they get wet or something like that. You know, you don't want them to rust, 'cause like this is stainless steel. Other than knocking the crud out of them, that's it. I mean, I am shocked at how clean this is, especially the area in between the wall of the can. I mean, look at that. That's not that bad, honestly. Then again, like I said, it gets a lot of high use on that 8.3 inch Galil Ace. So anyway, that's why you don't really need, man, it's a little tight. All right, before I put that all the way back on there, may a little bit of anti-seize on there or something, a little grease perhaps. In any event, this is going to be the one that's going to be the challenge to get out, and we're going to see how we can do this. I'm going to get some stuff here, see if I can get some wood to just push that out. Be careful, you don't want to damage your baffles. Let's do that. I'm going to stop talking and then we'll be right back. So I'm back. I think I'm going to take Bowers up on their, probably on their service policy, and drop this in the mail to them with a check for $20. Obviously call ahead of time and let them know it's coming. But this thing is in here good. I got a wood dowel and tried to gently, not so gently, pound these baffles out. They're not coming. I may soak it first before sending it back, but basically what I wanted to do was pull this out and show all of you just how important it is to clean your 22s, at least with some frequency, not just because it'll be hard as heck to get it apart, but I wanted to show you all the dirt and crud that's in here. I mean, you can see the little chunks falling out. Bit of a letdown, because this was going to be a big part of the video to show the difference between closed, rifle cans versus 22 cans, when I try and stress the importance of 22 cans, but alas, here we are. All right, so as I said, I was able to get the baffle stack out, and we'll put some pictures up on social media. I don't have time to get to it tonight and finally clean it, but phone call to Bowers, and basically they said put the dowel in there, and they didn't tell me to go ham on it, but they said I could use more force than I was to drive them out. I was able to drive them out, get them out, and hunks of crap fell off of it. It actually was not as bad internally as I thought it was going to be, because I watched Dustin Ellerman's video, Top Shot Dustin, and maybe I'll try and annotate to his video after a thing where he did his USS, and man, there was significantly more crud in his. I don't know why, because the round count I would assume is at least the same, if not mine being a little higher, so mine wasn't as bad. But anyway, in any event, that's why you should, at least if you're 22 silencer, maintain it more frequently. Again, for me, that's just not going to crap off of it. At the same time, if I wanted to get it back to factory niceness, I'm sending it back to Bowers. I'll let them deal with it for $20. It's money well spent, I can tell you that much. Anyway, hopefully that answers your questions. Drop some comments down below. Let me know what else you want to see covered, and definitely, drop those comments down below. We'll talk about them more in the next video with Gunrunner 219. If we get some questions, maybe we'll start piling together a Q&A section, or at least maybe at the end of this segment, to go back and hammer through some of those questions that you had. And of course, the other reason, obviously the volume reason why of it filling up like 22 silencer filling up with crud, is that there's less volume of gases. Those hot gases need somewhere to expand. If there's less volume inside the can to expand, they're all being forced out the muzzle, or out the end of your silencer, and then they're expanding outside of the can instead of inside of the can, and it's the expansion that happens inside which reduces the volume of the shot. Obviously the sonic crack notwithstanding. So it's those hot expanding gases that you're trying to control and let cool down and control the expansion of as they exit the muzzle of the barrel, and that's the whole purpose of the silencer. Being able to guide them through and slow them down and create those internal patterns also help to slow the speed of that and the sound of that down, and control the expansion in a controlled fashion, if that makes sense. Anyway, kind of puts into better context everything that we've been talking about as far as the cleaning aspect, gives you some things to think about, and some of the various methods and things that you may or may not want to consider, and puts a little bit of, like I said, all of that into context. If you're still on the fence about buying your first silencer, you're not sure what to do, we've made a couple of videos in relation to this. One is a generic-ish video that's relevant with all the information through 2021 as this current video drops as well, with all the information that you need to know as far as the steps to go through to buy a silencer. There's also another video we did which we talk about the SID kiosk. That's something silencershop.com has. You can visit silencershop.com and check it out directly, as well as that video. It really simplifies the silencer buying process. You do your fingerprints digitally, so if you have a PD, for example, that isn't doing fingerprints right now because all the COOF stuff, and we're not going to use the full word so we don't get censored, but and that you can't do the hands-on in-person stuff, you can go and check that out and put in your fingerprints digitally. They keep it on file for as long as you want, and then every time you buy a silencer, your fingerprints are already on file. They get digitally done, and you're ready to rock. Visit the kiosk once and you're done. You can update the passport photo yearly from your phone, because your passport photo has to be done every year when you submit an application. Do that from your phone. You still don't have to go back to the kiosk. Really simplifies the process, makes it easier. So definitely check that out. Swag, we've got various swag if you want to check that out, patches and stuff if you want to support the channel. We also have our channel shirts, which are available through 1776 United. 7613C will save you 15% off pretty much everything that they have. They're on their site, including hoodies, t-shirts, other stuff like that they have. And our Patreon account, if you like supporting us there. We're going to get back into our regular content this next coming month in May. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Take care, stay safe. And I expect a couple of videos next month as things have finally leveled out in the business and personal life, and we're back on a more even keel here. So thanks again, everybody. Take care. Stay safe. We'll talk soon.